Welcome into Bucks Breakdown, presented by Prize Picks. My name is Reed Barkus. Wherever you're watching, whenever you're watching, hope you're having a great day. Coming up, this Bucks player is set to break out in 2026. If you can't tell who this is, it is Emeka Egbuka. I'm not wasting any time getting to who we're talking about. I think Emeka Egbuka is going to have an even better season than he did in the first 5 weeks of 2025. And I'm not the only one that agrees. PFF had this to say on Emeka Egbuka. Egbuka started off his NFL career red hot. We know this. Through the first 5 weeks of 2025, Egbuka's 75.8 PFF receiving grade was 12th at the position, and his 2.49 yards per route run placed 7th. However, the Ohio State product subsequently struggled, registering a 61.9 receiving grade. His issues were mostly fueled by drops, with his 11.6% drop rate, the second highest among qualified wideouts. With the legendary Mike Evans now in San Francisco, the Buccaneers are assuredly expecting Emeka Egbuka to help shoulder much of that vacant production, the smoothness, versatility, and sure-handedness that Egbuka put on display in Columbus figured out to catalyze a second-year breakout. Now we're going to break down a little bit more, actually a lot more, about Emeka Egbuka and how I think he could break out in 2026. But before we break that down, our Bengals breakdown host, Billy Beebe, is talking some smack. Obviously, we know week 1 up against the Cincinnati Bengals. He was talking some smack to me earlier today, saying the Bucs fans, not about it. They're going to lose in week 1, and they're going to lose in the walls of Chat Sports, and I don't know if I can have that. Billy Beebe, I don't know if you guys know, ESPN viral clip of him getting locked up by D'Angelo Pons at the NFL Combine. Guys getting locked up by people. Like, we can't be having this. So his last video for Bengals Breakdown had 13 new subscribers on it. Could we beat him in today's video to shove it in his face? Because he thinks Bucs fans aren't about it. Let's prove him wrong. So if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. You get free fun Bucs content all offseason long, and we get to ruin it for our Bengals host. All right, going back to Emeka Egbuka. I don't know about you guys, but last year I was so happy to see that Emeka Egbuka was doing well, because when we drafted him, everyone was like, whoa, we don't need a wide receiver. What's going on? But you take a best available. He ends up with almost 1,000 yards. And let's be real. Injuries hurt Emeka Egbuka. And you're probably like, Reed, he was like questionable for like maybe 2 games. He played 17 games last year. Why would injuries be hurting Emeka Egbuka? He didn't get injured. I'm going to get to that in a second, because what happened to the receiving core and honestly the offense as a whole is sort of what hindered Emeka Egbuka and what held him back from that second half of the season of him continuing to be hot. We're going to get to that, but before we do, I want to give a huge shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. You guys hear me talking about Prize Picks on every video because they are a great sponsor here. If you haven't downloaded Prize Picks already, make sure you go ahead and do so. The playoffs are going crazy for basketball right now, but they're closing soon, so make sure you get in and win some money right now. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better place to win some cash than with Prize Picks. It's a great way to watch sports, win some money at the same time, which is why I've been using it since 2022. It's actually really simple to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. For example, my guy Jake Chipper, the host of our 76ers Now channel, he's got a huge lineup going on right now. And if you guys know, social feeds feature, you can follow him. You can follow me at Reed Barkus. He's got $10 to pay $530. He's got Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Jalen Williams, Julian Champagny, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and Victor Wembanyama. So if you guys want to get in on lineups on the NBA playoffs, make sure you go ahead and do so at Prize Picks. Now, Prize Picks has an offer for new users. Download the Prize Picks app today with the link in the comments and the description and use code HMA. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. One more time for the people in the back. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. All right, so let's talk about the Buccaneers 2025 injury chart. this is like half of it. This is basically just the offensive side of the ball, which sprinkled in some defensive people as well. I mean, the amount of red that's on there is just absolutely terrible. You see at the bottom there, Jalen McMillan only played the last 3 games of the season. And then you got Baker Mayfield was questionable. Obviously, we know his shoulder as well. But, I mean, the entire offense, basically, with the offensive line as well, just riddled with injuries. And some notable wide receiver injuries. Obviously, we know Mike Evans missing with his hamstring and his shoulder injury. I mean, the broken clavicle is just unreal. Missed 9 games. Chris Godwin, obviously, with his fibula, missed 8 games. And then Jalen McMillan, that neck injury in the preseason, and he misses almost the entire season. So you think about, okay, Emeka Egbuka, yes, he was red hot, and the injuries were here and there, some people in, but when you had Mike Evans in there in those first 3 or 4 games, he was fantastic. And that's where he got a really hot start. So something to remember with Mike Evans leaving now and Zac Robinson coming in as an offensive coordinator, his offense has a little bit more to offer for a guy like Emeka Egbuka. Because we know Mike Evans, he primarily was that X receiver. So with all those injuries, they were moving Emeka Egbuka from Z to X to slot. They were moving him all over the place. So that kind of ruined the chemistry of that wide receiver room. And that's why he ultimately fell off towards the end of the season. Also could be a little bit with our Josh Grizzard and sort of putting him in a hole and not using him correctly. But I think back to Zac Robinson now coming in from Atlanta. Back in 2024, a guy like Darnell Mooney, who plays a little bit similar to how Emeka Egbuka plays. 106 targets, 64 receptions. Probably his best year in the later half of his career in 2024 was Zac Robinson. So with no number 13, everyone's going to get a lot more targets. Now, with Zac Robinson coming in from Atlanta, I really don't know what the offense is going to look like in terms of who's getting how many targets, but I know that Emeka Egbuka is going to be a major part of this offense just because we don't have Mike Evans anymore. So somebody's going to have to fill that production. And when we talk about the X receiver position, we all know you draft a guy like Ted Hurst. But we'll get to that in a second. Having a true X, this is Zac Robinson on having an X receiver. Having a true X is a weapon as an offense. Knowing that if that guy's a real threat on the backside and you can dictate some certain coverages, certain ways, that is an absolute threat. So the closest guy we kind of had in LA was Odell Beckham Jr. We had him in that 21 season, and he changed the math with the defense, and there's one-on-one opportunities when they don't. So yeah, having a true X is a luxury. 2021, you say? Producer Coop, 2021, that was when the Rams, who Zac Robinson obviously was a pass game coordinator with, that was when they won the Super Bowl, was it not? And where Cooper Kupp had his absolute best season, almost just shy of 2,000 receiving yards. I don't know about you guys, Cooper Kupp plays a lot like Emeka Egbuka. Smooth route running, versatile, can really play anywhere on that field. Loves those drag routes in the middle of the field. 191 targets, 145 receptions, almost 2,000 yards, 16 touchdowns. Sounds a lot like what Emeka Egbuka could do. I mean, I don't want to say that we're going to go to the Super Bowl and he's going to have almost 2,000 yards, but that's the type of offense that we're about to see in 2026. Who else to get those targets and play like a Cooper Kupp than Emeka Egbuka? Because Jalen McMillan can be that Z as well, but I think he's going to be more of that motion guy, maybe in the slot as well. Chris Godwin, he's going to have some injuries next year, unfortunately. I mean, let's be real. He probably is not going to play the entire full season. So you have him at the slot. Jalen McMillan can play the slot as well. You got Tez Johnson in there. And then you get a guy like Ted Hurst, who's going to be most likely your X receiver. Drafted him out of Georgia State. 1,000 yards last season. He is 6'3", basically 6'4", 206 pounds. He's not your Mike Evans replacement, but he is your X-receiver replacement. Somebody who can be on that outside boundary. There's a threat up the sideline or a post route. He's going to be that guy. And as long as he's a threat as an X-receiver, Emeka Egbuka can return to his X or his Z receiver spot, and he's going to feast. So when we talk about having an X receiver like Mike Evans, that's when we can throw, that's when we were able to throw Emeka Egbuka in that Z spot. And that's when those first three games, and I mean those first 5 games, he was cooking, dude. And then what happened? They move him around too much. You play him on the outside, and that's just not where he can thrive. So as long as Ted Hurst can be at least a threat, he doesn't have to be the Mike Evans. At least defenses need to look at him. As long as defenses are looking at him as a threat on the outside, Emeka Egbuka is going to have a breakout season. But be honest with me. How many receiving yards will Emeka Egbuka have in 2026? If you're looking at me, you're sitting down right now, you're probably hanging out on your couch being like, this guy's an idiot. Emeka Egbuka, he's not that good. I really hope you guys aren't saying that. But how many receiving yards do you think Emeka Egbuka will have? Let me know down in the comments section. I want to see where your guys' heads are because I think he's going to have over 1,000 receiving yards. Maybe not 1,900 like Cooper Kupp did, but I think it's definitely going to be over 1,000, maybe 1,100. So let me know down in the comment section. And if you're still watching at this point in today's video, that means you're a real one. That means you like the content. You like the channel coming here at Bucks Breakdown. And that means you need to grab one of these shirts. Tampa Bane. We got Ruben Bain Jr. with the Bane mask. And he's got his brand new face mask that is looking like the Bane mask. So make sure you don't miss out on these. You can't get them anywhere else. Can't get them on Amazon. Can't get them on eBay. Just right here, chatsports.com/Bane. Don't miss out. Prove him wrong. I know I said it in the beginning of today's show. Week 1, we're playing the Bengals. And he was talking some smack, our guy Billy Beebe over there. So if you haven't already, if you're watching right now, that means we're doing something right and you like the content. So youtube.com/Bucks now. Prove our guy Billy Beebe wrong and that we are a loyal fan base here at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As always, fire the cannons.